Bam! What's going on, folks? MC is in the house. Been a while since I made a video. Got some time to kill on my way to New York from PA, and wanted to talk today about insecurities in men and where we see them sort of rear their ugly heads in common life, everyday life, and probably some other examples that are popping up lately because of the lockdown and everything involved with this nonsense. So when you see somebody, an individual who's arrogant, what that arrogance can mean is somebody who's completely certain in what it is that they're doing. And when an arrogance is due to a certainty in an individual's, ritual or whatever activity or application they happen to be involved with, when that's the case, we call it confidence, right? An individual is confident. When we see somebody who we would sort of say is a confident individual, the distinction to be made between the first example I gave is this individual is not necessarily confident in his ability to do something, but he's confident in himself while attempting to do this thing, while endeavoring to do this thing. And when somebody's confident, they're sort of sure of what it is that they're going to do, and no matter the outcome of what it is they do, how little that reflects or should reflect on their relationship with themselves, right? So arrogance without that sort of confidence, without the application, or arrogance that is sort of universal in an individual's approach to doing anything, is really insecurity masked by an individual. And we see this in men a lot. We see men who are not just, always sure of themselves and confident and sort of seemingly immune to insults or the sort of peaks and valleys of regular life. We're not talking about those guys. We're talking about the guy who claims to be good at everything, who expects some sort of deference in whatever it is that he's doing, from other people, as being an individual who has some sort of ability in doing it. This is insecurity. You see, what happens when an individual has to learn something, in order to learn, they need to, I guess, first and foremost, acknowledge that they don't know the thing, right? And I don't really, describe learning as simply a process of acquiring information. I like using the phrase building a relationship with something, right? So you learn about something when you build a relationship with it. It's not just seeing a thing, it's seeing a thing from all sides. It's having some experience with a thing. It's, allowing your other senses to sort of experience the thing as well, whatever it happens to be. Well, in order to do that, in order to build that relationship, you have to acknowledge that you don't have one to begin with. In order to do that, we have to sort of make these I don't want to keep saying acknowledgments, but we have to, admissions, probably a better word. We have to make these admissions that we still have work to do, that we are incomplete, that we are on our journey, climbing our ladder, whatever, metaphor you want to use, that we are somebody who is in that process. And when we do that, we have to have the certainty in our relationship with ourselves that admitting such in no way reflects on the quality of who we are as an individual. However, when you have somebody that first and foremost is looking to mask and deflect away from their insecurities, they cannot expose themselves to that vulnerability because it might undermine people, or at least in their eyes, it might undermine people's opinion of them. And ultimately, it comes down to people's opinion of them is incredibly significant to these individuals. So what's the value? What's the use of knowing this? Well, I would say first and foremost, if you're not somebody who understands that he has work to do in just about every aspect of his life, if you're somebody, and I've said this before, who seems to have more answers than questions, chances are you are being restricted, contained. There's a ceiling over your head that you have, done yourself. It's of your own doing, that is based on protecting these insecurities. It's funny. My friends growing up, it was very commonplace for, and it didn't matter if you were a thin guy or a heavy guy, and like if we were playing football, playing sports or something, and it was hot out, everybody had their shirts off. And there was a certain point as we got older where people stopped taking their shirts off. Now, mind you, the utility of taking your shirt off when it's really hot didn't change. But people sort of connected this thing with abstractions that didn't exist when they were younger. My little brother, it doesn't matter where his weight is. If he's working outside or if it's hot, his shirt's over a bench or the back of a chair, and he doesn't give a shit. He has that level of security in who he is, and rightfully so. But when we see individuals that it's almost impossible for them to learn something, what we wind up finding in other instances is it's seemingly impossible to help them, especially when they need it. Being insecure and not being capable or interested in acknowledging your imperfections, exposing your vulnerabilities to a process to sort of improve them, it also disarms the people around you from helping you when you need it. And a newsflash, we all need help at one point. I would say that, to the men who are watching this, ladies too, but I mean, if you've been following me, it's you guys I'm talking to mostly. You guys have to understand that if you think being strong is just going through your whole life not admitting weaknesses, you're not paying attention. You're certainly not paying attention to me, and I would venture to say you're probably not paying attention to the cause and effect relationship of your actions throughout your life. Being a man, being strong, is understanding that you have a job, and that job is a combination of things you have to do, things you've obligated yourself to do. People relying on you to do certain things. Part of it's understanding that, and it's also understanding that you can always stand to do your job a little bit better. And if you don't have a process in place that is designed to improve your ability to do that job, you're not going to wind up being the man you want to be. You're probably not going to be the man you may already claim to be. We could be perfect next life, is one of the jokes I make with my coaching students. I myself right now, I have to make sure that I'm training martial arts frequently enough. I have a book that I'm working on that's starting to fall behind schedule. I have activities and rituals I wanted to install with my kids already that I haven't done already because I need to manage my time a little bit more effectively. I'm somebody, listen, I get an awful lot done, but holy shit, I got stuff that I was supposed to do already that is sort of sitting on the shelf waiting for me. So I'm not above this process myself. I try to purposely expose my deficiencies to people who give a fuck about me, because it sort of keeps me honest. It keeps the spotlights on those areas of my life, and it stops me from creating those shadows that I could sort of hide those deficiencies in. Weakness is a deficiency that you refuse to work on. Weakness is a deficiency that you refuse to categorize as such. Weakness is not being imperfect. Weakness is not, working on some stuff that you need to improve. We're all at different points and different levels of strength. But So long as we understand that building a relationship with becoming stronger requires you exposing yourself to vulnerability. Unless you do that, you're really just trying to fool everybody into thinking you're somebody you're not. All right, guys, appreciate you. Hope all is well. Talk to you guys soon.